Hello again, everyone. In this video, we are going to be setting up Linux Mint on a VM on VirtualBox. So why might you want to do this? Well, if you're on Windows, I'm actually going to be doing this on Linux Mint itself in this video, but you can figure out how to do it pretty easily on Windows. But getting comfortable with Linux and the terminal is just a very powerful skill to have. If you're working on any of the major cloud providers, GCP, AWS, chances are if you're spinning up a VM, it's going to be Linux. Same with a Docker image and container. You're going to be using Linux commands most likely to navigate around. And it's just, like I said, a very powerful skill to have. So why would you want to do a VirtualBox or a VM of Linux Mint on Linux Mint like I'm doing? Well, I typically do it when I want to experiment with new software, and I am definitely not the most organized person. So if I'm going to be working on a project and I know I'm probably going to forget about it, I'll throw it on a VM, try to clean it up later, things like that. Okay, all that out of the way, let's jump right in. So here I am on my local PC, and I'm just going to go ahead and open up a terminal, make that a little bit bigger here. And by default, if you're on Linux Mint, you should have this repository already on your system, so you can just do a sudo apt-get install VirtualBox, put in your password, and of course I already have it. Just kind of a side note here, if you do download the deb package, it's most likely going to be a minor version ahead. So if you do want the latest and greatest, I would grab the deb and install that. But I haven't really noticed any downside to just using what's already in the repository that comes with Linux Mint. Okay, so now that that's installed, I can go ahead and just type VirtualBox. You can see I've got a few in here. I have many more on my PC. But for you, if you just installed it, that'll all be fresh. And let me do VirtualBox download, just so you can see where to go. It is from Oracle. See if I make this a little bigger. No, it doesn't like that. So if you're on Windows, you would go to Windows hosts. Oh, no, I don't want to download that. Linux distributions, you would come here. They've got different versions for Ubuntu, Debian, Fedora, all that good stuff. But for us, we want to install Linux Mint as a VM, so that was VirtualBox, the software to create and manage the VMs. Now to create the VM, we're going to want an ISO. So I will just do a Linux Mint download. Go to the first link here. I usually go with mate. It's just what I prefer. No real reason other than it always just feels right to me. And that's what I'm working on right now. My local machine, this is Linux Mint mate. And for the mirror, you will want to choose one close to you. Just so the speed that you'll get for downloading, and that'll bring down the ISO for you. Let's see, Clarkson University is the one I usually go to. I'm here in Chicago, so that would be about 6 or 7 minutes. I'll just cancel that because I already have it downloaded. So back to creating the machine. Can I make this bigger? No. So hopefully you can see this okay. Up here I'm going to click Machine, New. I'm just going to call this Vid Demo. And by default, once you've installed VirtualBox, it's probably going to give you this VirtualBox VMs in your home directory. For me, I have several. You can see how organized I am. Several mounted hard drives. I have a secondary NVMe where I like to put these. And I'm just going to choose this location. These are ones that I still have, but they're just not registered. I haven't touched them lately. So just wave your hand at that. Okay. For the ISO image. Oh, and I should point out, this vid demo is going to be created as a folder with the necessary VM files at this location. Okay. And you can see it's already pointing to my downloads where I have that. If it wasn't, I would just do other, go to downloads. Again, you can see how often I spin these up, play with Arch Linux, some other stuff there. Okay, and it all automatically detected that it was Linux and it was Ubuntu. Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu. So if you prefer trying out Ubuntu, you could have downloaded that image as well. The steps will be, well, identical really. Skip unattended installation. If you don't check this box, it's going to ask you for a username, password. If you want to do the guest installations, I just don't like doing it that way, so I'll show you the way I typically do it. And I have about 32 gigs on this machine. If you're running something like Docker and Docker Compose, well, and I don't know, just about anything else, I like to give it about 8 gigs and 4 cores. And for the disk, you could probably get away with 20 gigs. In fact, usually I bump it down to about 20, just because you see I leave these laying around, and yeah, I don't want to eat up that much hard drive space. I should probably just be more organized, but we've all got our own method. Okay. So I went ahead and started it. If you click that top option there, start Linux Mint, I think it said. I could shut this down and go back through, but I think that's going to take a moment. So I'll just let it go ahead and start up here. And I did not click it, but I think it automatically chose the first option when I didn't choose in 5 or 10 seconds. Okay. So I should get a disk here in just a moment. Install Linux Mint. Probably should have gave it another moment. Okay. I'm going to choose English US for the keyboard layout. And usually I do the install multimedia codecs just because I feel like anytime I don't, well, I will say 50% of the time I don't, I run into a situation where I need it. But it's your own choice. Just for the sake of the install time, I'm not going to select that with this installation. Erase disk and install Linux Mint. Well, this created kind of a virtual hard disk, so yes. And it's just saying kind of the partitions it's going to do and how it's going to set up the disk. Continue. And I am indeed in Chicago, at least the Chicago time zone. Your name, I'm just going to do Gary Host. And for this one, you know what? I'm going to make this a little bit different just so I can say, so the computer name is what the PC thinks it is. It is, I don't know, how am I going to describe host name? If you are making a computer at home or installing an OS and you named your computer, that's the name. The name we gave it when we created the VM, that is the name that VirtualBox knows it by. And you could make those the same, there's no issue with that. I'm just naming it differently to kind of show those are two different things. Okay, I think that was a good explanation, but I'm not really sure. And I'm just going to put password. Of course, if you're doing this, make something strong. You don't need to, you could log in automatically. I always require a password. Encrypt your home folder. If you're looking to do things with sensitive information, yes, encrypt your home folder. So I'm going to let this go. It should just take a minute or two, and I'll pick back up as soon as that's done. Okay, so that was probably about 10 minutes. I guess I usually just walk away and do other stuff while that's loading. But now you can continue testing. You could use this OS as is. Of course, you could have used it before running the install as well, or you can restart now. So I'm just going to restart now. And just hit enter. Tell it the installation media has been removed. Not really sure how that works, but I've always just hit enter. And this should just take a moment to come back up. Okay. So I set the password to password. And here we are. If you don't want this annoying pop-up to keep coming, just uncheck show this dialog at startup. And let's see, devices. We are going to want to insert guest edition CD image. Why are we doing that? Well, I should say, this screen is not full screen, as you might have noticed, and that's very annoying. So let me go back and do that one more time. Just so the next time I forget to do it, I can come back to this video and there's a nice long stretch for it. Insert guest edition CD image. And oh, I guess I'm not going to get prompted again. Okay, so I see that's at root media Gary. So let's go ahead and Control-T, open up a terminal. Control+ is not working. So nice little tip here. Let's see. You can do zoom in, and it will zoom in. But if you go to preferences, there we go, profile preferences. Of course, I won't be able to find it. Oh, keyboard shortcuts. My apologies. And if you scroll down here, you'll see zoom in and zoom out. They are set to Control+ and Control-, but for some reason, you just have to Control++, Control-, and actually you could have just done Control+. That's what it is. And now, of course, it's not working when I'm recording. I'm going to try that one more time and then wave my hand at it, but Control+, oh, double click Control+, double click Control-, close. There we go. All right. where were we going? CD, media, Gary. There we go. And I'm just going to look for the SH and do the auto run. I think this should work. I'm going to put in password if I can type. And while that's going, I can go ahead and jump back out here to the vid demo VM I have here. And we can look at some settings real quick. Probably still can't make that bigger. But if you, let's see, how do I want to phrase this? So for security purposes, if you are working with maybe suspect programs and things like that, you're going to want to leave these off. But shared clipboard, that means when you highlight text, Control C, you can then Control V or Control Shift V if you're in the terminal into the VM. Drag and drop, as you'd imagine, dragging files over. And here, these snapshots in the vid demo folder, that can be very useful. And I will try to circle back on that. Not much to see there. Network. I usually do NAT. You could do a bridge network, making it look like another PC on your network that shares the your PC's actual NIC card, whereas a NAT is the network address translation, I believe. So it kind of sets up a virtual router, gives your VM an IP address behind that. You can Google that, read up on it. I just usually leave it as NAT. Shared folders. I mean, if you wanted to have a folder to share files in and out of the VM, I believe that's what that's for. I may have used that like 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember for what though. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. Let's minimize that. I'm going to go ahead and just grab the top here. Yes, very scientific. Give it a shake. So there's a little tip for you how that works. Yeah, I don't know why that works. I don't even think I was shown that, but that's just how I've always gotten it to work. Probably got frustrated one day. Let me zoom this out or close and pop another terminal. Okay, so I think that's about it. We can do a restart here. Not sure why my cursor's not changing. But by and large, I would say 99.5% I have had Linux Mint run very smooth on these. And let's see, is that not going to reboot for me? It might be thinking in the background. I'll give it another moment. And let's see. Of course, you can right click here. There are more options. But you could look through all those. Those are the same settings here. Restart. There we go. Okay. Let's see. You have clicked the mouse inside the virtual. Do not show this message again. Okay. Something to note here. Not sure if I just do that by muscle memory now. But Let's see, that is not showing my cursor. And I want to say that, there we go. Wow, it is having all kinds of problems here. Well, now I'm not sure because my muscle memory failed me. Sometimes you will get your cursor where you cannot leave the VM. VirtualBox, release, mouse. Thought it was Ctrl Alt Home. Oh, that's not helping me at all. Oh, Ctrl Alt Delete. So let's see. Can I get that to happen here? No. But just know that might happen. And if it does, Ctrl Alt Delete, I think it is. Maybe Ctrl Alt Home. And you notice this came up with a nice big screen. I'd say 20% of the time I'll start up a VM, and I always install the guest editions, which allows for the full screen. Again, very scientific. I just give it a shake and it comes up to full screen. So the last thing before I forget it, if we look here, we do not have the option to snapshot. Because it is running, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. And now I should be able to let's see here. Don't want to clone. Look at one of my other ones. Oh, maybe do I need to click over here? Snapshots. So here I can take a snapshot. And actually, now I'm second guessing myself. Can I take a snapshot while I'm running this? I probably should have practiced this running through, but it kind of just occurred to me while I was recording here. And it's a very powerful tool to have in your tool belt. Hey, I want to run this janky software, and this guy on this website said it works on Linux Mint if you change the config file this one way, and it's going to install 50,000 files, and they're going to be spread all over. You don't want to have to worry about cleaning all that up if it goes sideways. Take a snapshot. Try whatever you're going to try to do. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, just revert. So just call this fresh install. And oh, I can actually take that while it's running. Nifty. So let's see. Let's prove it real quick. Let's see. What do I want to install? Let's see here. Install Docker Linux Mint. That's the one I actually wanted. Oh, got to run all these. I was hoping there would be something faster to install. Let me just do this. I'm just going to do an ls. You can see all my files here. I'm just going to cat hello world, and actually, not cat, I want to echo that into a file called hello.txt. Now we see that file there, and I'm just going to cat that out. It says hello world. Let me shut down. And I'm going to restore to, or let me slow down a little bit. I'm going to restore, but I do not want to take a snapshot of the current machine state. I'm sure if I thought for longer than a minute, I could think of a lot of instances where you would want to do that. But I just want to restore it back to that state. And we will start up the current state. And if you notice, that snapshot still exists. This is going to continue to change as we add things, install software, things like that. But you can always revert back to that snapshot. So now if I go here, ls, there, that's probably really small if you're on mobile. Some of this probably is already. But notice there is no hello file here. So again, a very powerful thing to do. Usually what I'll do is I'll install things like Google Chrome, VS Code. I'll change my configuration to Python a little bit, put in Docker, Docker Compose, Google Cloud CLI. I think those are pretty much my greatest hits. Then once I have that, I'll snapshot it and say usual installs or something like that. And then that way, if I'm going along and just totally screw something up, I can go back, restore from that snapshot, and I'm good to go. But all right, I think that's everything I wanted to go over in this video. Again, if you're on Windows, I would highly recommend, if you're not ready to do a dual boot or do a complete install and make Linux your main OS, VirtualBox is a great way to get going. And of course, if you're like me and are already on Linux Mint, it's great to be able to spin up these VMs, experiment, and not worry about messing up your main OS. But that's all for this video, and I'll see you in another one.